I never thought a single moment could flip my world upside down. But then there was Latham Voss, quiet, composed, and impossibly magnetic, standing in my kitchen with his hands wrapped around a mug of coffee like he belonged there. Before we go any further, if you're enjoying the story, like this video, share it, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Seriously, this story only gets more intense, and missing out would be a crime. Latham wasn't the kind of man you forgot. Rare U.S. names like his carried a weight, an uncommon elegance that made him seem both untouchable and irresistibly close. His dark brown hair caught the morning light streaming through our apartment windows, and his eyes, sharp, almost stormy, made it impossible not to feel exposed under his gaze. He was my co-worker at first, then my friend, then, well, something blurred the lines. Our shifts overlapped, our lunches collided, and suddenly, sharing a cab home became routine. One late night, after a particularly grueling project, we were drinking wine in my apartment, pretending we were just relaxing, but the air between us was thick, charged with unspoken desire. "Careful," he said softly, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. "You know this is dangerous." I finished for him, my voice betraying how true it was. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in, just close enough that my pulse jumped. His lips brushed mine briefly, a kiss so light I thought I imagined it. But the heat that followed was unmistakable. Minutes later, he pulled back, eyes wide, jaw tight. "It was a mistake," he said, voice low, almost pained. I should have stopped him, should have drawn a line. But I didn't. Not when my own body screamed in protest and need. "I know," I whispered, heart hammering. "But it doesn't feel like one." His gaze softened, conflicted. This can't happen again." And yet, something unspoken lingered, a promise or a warning. I couldn't tell which. The next week was hell. Every glance, every accidental touch, felt like walking on a tightrope strung above fire. Pretending nothing happened was impossible, and every meeting, every dinner, every shared elevator ride felt like a test of self-control. We were both failing. One night, the tension snapped. Latham came over under the guise of helping me with a broken heater. We were in the living room, and the warmth from his body, his closeness, was overwhelming. "You're thinking about it again," he murmured, almost a statement, not a question. "I can't help it," I admitted. He hesitated, then brushed his hand against mine, deliberate this time. "Neither can I." The electricity between us was undeniable. My fingers trembled as I let them intertwine with his. His lips hovered near mine, teasing, testing. "You're dangerous," I whispered. "So are you," he countered, and kissed me again, longer, deeper, impossibly sweet and wrong. Pulling back slightly, he pressed his forehead to mine. "It was a mistake," he said again, though the way he looked at me said otherwise. I swallowed hard. "Then do it again." And just like that, he did. The week after that first mistake was unbearable. Every glance from Latham, every casual touch, made my pulse race. Pretending nothing had happened was impossible, yet neither of us addressed it. We walked around each other like coiled springs, both knowing a single spark could set the whole apartment ablaze. One night, after a long day at work, he came over again. He said it was to pick up a book he'd left, but the moment he stepped inside, the air between us was electric. He leaned against the doorframe, casual, but the tension in his eyes betrayed him. "You're thinking about it," he murmured, voice low. "I can't help it," I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "Good," he said, stepping closer, "because I've been thinking about you nonstop." Our hands brushed, then our knees touched, then, finally, our fingers entwined, deliberate, refusing to let go. I felt my chest tighten, my stomach coil. Every nerve ending was alive with anticipation. Every beat of my heart a drum warning us of the danger ahead. "You're impossible," I said, laughing softly, though my voice trembled. "Not impossible," he corrected, his lips brushing mine in a teasing, exploratory kiss. Irresistible. Minutes stretched into hours. We sank onto the couch, close enough to feel each other's warmth, our hands brushing with more purpose. The teasing touches, the soft whispers, the stolen glances. Every move pushed the boundaries we'd agreed to respect. Latham, I whispered, chest tight. We shouldn't. We already did, he murmured, pressing his lips to mine again. And I'm not stopping. That single sentence broke every ounce of restraint I had left. I pressed closer, letting the heat between us consume the caution we'd been clinging to. Every brush of skin, every lingering kiss, was a silent confession. We were no longer roommates. We were something else. Something urgent, intimate, and impossible to deny. By the time the night ended, we were breathless, hearts racing and more tangled than ever. Our eyes met in the dim light, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. This was a mistake. Not really. It won't stop, will it? I whispered. No, he said softly, brushing a hand over my cheek. And it shouldn't. And just like that, the line we'd swore we wouldn't cross was erased entirely. Then, it happened one rainy evening, the kind that makes the world outside blur and hum with quiet intensity. Latham had come over under the pretense of watching a movie, but the electricity in the apartment was undeniable. Every glance, every brush of skin made it impossible to focus on the screen. He sat close, too close, his leg brushing mine. I could feel the warmth radiating from him, and my chest tightened. You're impossible, I muttered, though the words were meaningless against the heat coiling in my stomach. I like being impossible, he replied, his voice low, teasing, a dangerous promise hidden in each syllable. The movie ended forgotten as our hands found each other. First, fingers brushing, then intertwining. Every touch sent shivers through me, each glance an unspoken invitation. The room felt smaller, the space between us charged with something we could no longer ignore. Latham, I whispered, voice shaking. His lips hovered near mine, the tension unbearable. I know, he said softly. I've wanted this again since the last time. One kiss, tentative at first, spiraled into something more urgent, more consuming. I pressed into him, letting every frustration, every longing, every stolen thought of him overtake me. He responded with the same intensity, hands exploring, lips claiming, hearts racing in unison. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Every sigh, every gasp, every brush of skin drew us closer to a point of no return. I could feel the heat, the need, the undeniable pull between us. Every mistake before had been leading to this, and now it didn't matter. The world outside the apartment didn't exist. There was only Latham and me, tangled in sheets, in warmth, in desire. When we finally pulled apart, chest heaving, eyes locked, I realized something terrifying and wonderful. I didn't want it to stop. You're irresistible, I whispered, breathless. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. So are you, and I'll do it again, as many times as it takes. The tension broke, replaced by a quiet intimacy that wrapped around us like a blanket. We lay together, hearts still racing, hands entwined, knowing that we crossed a line neither of us could, or wanted to, uncross. In that moment, I understood something essential. Sometimes, the greatest mistakes lead to the most profound truths. Latham was no longer just a co-worker, a friend, or a roommate. He was mine, and I was his. Morning light spilled into the apartment, golden and soft. Latham stirred beside me, chest rising and falling in sync with mine. I traced a finger along his arm, feeling warmth, softness, the undeniable pull of him. You awake? He murmured, opening his eyes with that mischievous, stormy look I loved so much. Yeah, I whispered, smiling. He leaned in, pressing a slow, lingering kiss to my lips. You know, he said softly, we don't have to pretend anymore. I know, I replied, pressing closer. We spent a day together, wrapped in a world of small touches and quiet confessions. Every brush of skin, every soft laugh, every whispered word deepened the bond we'd been building through weeks of tension, teasing, and stolen moments. As night fell, we sat on the couch, wine in hand, legs intertwined. I pressed my forehead to his. "Latham, I don't want this to ever end." "Then it won't," he said, brushing a kiss to my temple. We crossed the line. There's no going back. And in the quiet apartment, with the city lights sparkling outside, I realized that sometimes the mistakes that feel forbidden are the ones worth holding on to. Latham wasn't just a mistake. He was my obsession, my love, my safe harbor. We fell asleep together that night, wrapped in each other's arms, knowing that every mistake had led us exactly where we were meant to be. Together, no pretending, no fear, just the undeniable certainty of desire and love intertwined.